to talk to a former producer at 60 Minutes. We booked this interview in advance, and it's pretty interesting. There it is, Ticking Clock. That's the name of the book, by Ira Rosen, and he was a producer at 60 Minutes for a very long time. He worked with Mike Wallace and Steve Croft and most of the others, and he was at ABC for a while. And it's a pretty interesting book. You may have seen the excerpts in the New York Post. It's gossipy, but there's other stuff in there as well. And it's a sort of a history of, I would say, the decline and fall of TV news or network TV news. And I thought I was going to have a tough time asking Ira about this, but he says at the very end of the book, I was reading it last night, that, he got tired of 60 Minutes and, thought that it was becoming a kind of a mushy show. So I'll just let me explain. Ira, that's my that's my first question for you. What happened to 60 Minutes?
Hi, Howie. Listen, I've been a fan for a long time. I was a Neiman Fellow in Boston, so I listened to you for a while.
Thanks.
Well, here's the thing: 60 Minutes changes. Think of it as like a fashion designer who was really successful in the '50s, and you can't sell those dresses in the '90s or the year 2020. I mean, it's now turned into sort of a bit of a on-topic, breaking news kind of show. Now, when I was there, we did, and you remember this, we did stories about, Harry Reisner would do a story about the most expensive meal he ever had.
Right.
Or Mike Wallace would be chasing Medicare fraud artists down the streets. Morley did this extraordinary story about the trains in Europe. It kind of took you places that you hadn't been before. And, when I was there, I was bipartisan, if you will. I literally would be going. From,
this is a follow up. Then you're setting me up for the follow up, Ira. I was reading. I'd forgotten all about Abscam, right? That was a huge scandal, and it was great. The guy was dressed up as a sheik, and he was bagging people right and left.
A Jewish guy, Mel Weinberg. Think about how stupid these congressmen are. A guy named Mel Weinberg is conning them. He's representing a sheik. I mean, how dumb can you get?
But my question for you, Ira, is, and I was thinking about this when I was reading the book last night, all of the people, except for I think one or two who were bagged, were Democrats, right? Would 60 Minutes in its current form go after that story because it would embarrass the Democrat Party? When was the last time the 60 Minutes ran a story embarrassing Democrats, Ira?
Oh, stop. I mean, here's the thing. I looked at my job as an umpire. I called balls and strikes. And that's the way I saw it. I did a story on insider trading in Capitol Hill. You may remember it. In fact, that story got me the friendship with Peter Schweitzer,
right,
with Steve Bannon, with Rebecca Mercer. And you know who was the main target of that story? Nancy Pelosi. You know why? Because she and her husband took a insider deal with Visa, and they flipped it. I don't know if you remember this.
No, I read about it. It refreshed my recollection last night. But again, I'm going to ask you: would they do that story today?
Yeah, why not?
Because it hurts Democrats.
Why not? Stop. No, you don't check the door to see if they're Democrat or Republican. You're checking to see a good story. Listen, the reason Peter Schweitzer, who wrote.
Of course, we have him on. He's a great guest for me. He's a great author. He's done a lot of great work. Yes.
Right. I just talked to him this morning. We were chatting and stuff. I mean, the reason Peter respects me, and I'm just talking about me, I don't want to talk for the entire institution, is he says, you play it straight. You call it, you don't care if it's a Democrat or Republican. I went after the Obama administration for how they neglected the opiate epidemic. It's a story that's really not told very much. The 8 years that Barack Obama and Eric Holder was running the Justice Department, the opiate epidemic went crazy. I mean, look at the numbers. All you have to do is look at the numbers.
But Ira, you're gone. Ira, you're gone from 60 Minutes. The thing about Schweitzer is, like, he went after Biden, he went after Kamala Harris, but last night I hear him on Mark Levin's show, and he's going after Mitch McConnell. So he is a bipartisan investigative reporter. And I'm not after you. I'm just asking you. I mean, what the hell happened? And I know you're going to say it's not your show, but 60 Minutes too, they tried to rig the presidential election in 2004.
2004? Here, I don't subscribe to that. I mean, listen, I love your show. You're a legend. I just don't agree with you.
But what happened?
What I did, I was a reporter. I was a reporter. I love going after Democrats. Listen, think about it. Senator Schumer, this is one thing that pissed me off, right? Senator Schumer was, he's talking about helping the poor. I mean, he's running the banking committee. You know why he's running the banking committee? Because they are the biggest contributors. Right. They raise the most money. If he cared so much, he'd be on Health and Human Services. I mean, I'm just saying, I kind of looked at it both ways. I was an impartial umpire in this regard. And I'm not saying, there isn't other people like that on the show. This is the way I played baseball. That's all.
Tell us about, I mean, again, too, you forget how many of there were a lot of bad actors on 60 Minutes, weren't there? I mean, in terms of their treatment of women. I mean, from Les Moonves to Fager to Charlie Rose.
Well, Les Moonves wasn't on 60 Minutes, but here's what I only could write about what I saw, and I talk about in the book. What I saw Mike Wallace do, which was snapping bra straps, grabbing women in places they shouldn't be grabbed, and it was not good. It was bad stuff. It was bad stuff. And I reflect on it in this book, Ticking Clock, about how it affected me. And I kind of was, at the time, I was a mountain climber. I was trying to figure out a way to sort of make everything work. And, truthfully, I just turned a blind eye to what I was seeing. I didn't lecture him. I wasn't the only one. A lot of people sort of, let Mike get away with it. And I write about this in the book. Don Hewitt didn't do anything about Mike.
What about Croft? What about Steve Croft? I mean, you worked directly with him. Yeah,
but I wrote about. I don't know about what Croft's personal life was about. He got. There was an expose about him in I think the National Enquirer or something about an affair he had. But Chris was rough also on the help, if you will. He was a tough guy. But the thing about Steve was he was a brilliant writer. I mean, I did this profile of John Gotti Jr., one of the pieces I'm most proud of. And he came up with a line to describe John Gotti, the big gangster in New York. And he said he wanted everybody to know what he did as long as they couldn't prove it.
Is this senior or junior? By the way, you seem to be good friends with senior. This seems to be good. You seem to be good friends with John Gotti Jr. I just heard today. I was talking to some people from Boston. He's doing something on the Teddy Deegan hit in Boston from way back when. One of the great stories of FBI corruption.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
He's apparently working on a series of stories about FBI FBI corruption. And I don't know if it's elsewhere, but Teddy Deegan, that was a hit that the FBI knew about, and they framed 4 guys for it. And he's done something on that, and he's also doing something. He wants to do something on the Roger Wheeler hit, which is involved with Whitey Bulger in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So I didn't. You haven't heard about this? This sounds like a pretty interesting project.
Here's what I know. Well, let me tell you what. I had lunch with him. He's doing something on the witness protection program, and his point is, the FBI embraces these guys who are mass murderers, who are bragging about chopping up bodies everywhere. Then they give them if they agree to testify, they give them a nice home. They give them a gas station someplace, and they get to live their lives. And he says, this is ridiculous. He said, all you have to do is agree to tell a story, and then you go out there and you get a new life. It doesn't, and he speaks specifically about one person who's taking credit for 16 murders. And now the FBI wants to start, going into business with this guy. So, I mean, that's what John is about. And it's pretty courageous for him to do this, I'll tell you.
Right.
I mean, he's acting like an he's suddenly become an investigative reporter.
Yeah, well, Teddy Deegan, that's a case where they framed these guys. They did 35 years in prison. And they wanted to protect 2 guys in the witness protection program. It would have made a great 60 Minutes thing, but it would have embarrassed people like Robert Mueller.
Yeah, that's all right. That's all right.
I'm trying to needle you there, Ira. I'm trying to get you to respond.
Yeah, I would have done that story. Listen, that's part. I share a lot of common paths with these people. When I sit down and break bread with Gotti, he tells me some stuff that gets my hair standing on edge in terms of the corruption that he's seen. He sees more corruption than the FBI corruption unit sees. And that's when you're in my position as a producer, you get to meet a lot of different people. You get to meet a lot of different folks and all over the planet. And I tell a story where I was having a cognac with Joe Bonanno. You remember Joe Bonanno, right?
Yes.
Crime family.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
We moved to Arizona. Honor thy father.
Joe's sitting there. You got it, man. You got it. And so Joe and I are sitting and having a cognac. And I said, Joe, as a Jewish kid growing up in New York, I really admired and, looked up to Meyer Lansky. And I said, was he that good of an accountant? And he said, Meyer Lansky, an accountant. He had the picture. I said, what picture? He had the picture of J. Edgar Hoover and Clyde Tolson, who was the chief of staff, having sex together. And he said, we used that to blackmail Hoover into not going after us. He said that was the value of Lansky. He got the picture.
They also used it to stop Hoover from stopping the creation of the CIA. The OSS people were working with Luciano and Lansky. That's a whole story. Ira Rosen, thank you. I enjoyed the book, and there's a lot of good gossip in there. And people want to find out about your night with Ghislaine, or however she pronounces it, Maxwell. That's a pretty interesting story too. It's the title of the book is Ticking Clock by Ira Rosen, just published by St. Martin's Press. Thank you, Ira. Thank you, Ira Rosen, for being with us here on the Howie Carr Show. My friends at Eden Pure have done it again. You can get the Thunderstorm air purifier at the lowest price offered to. Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. I'm reading the wrong copy here. I've been on Balance 7 for 2 weeks now, and I cannot believe my energy. I've been feeling so good that some days I go for 3 bike rides. Now you ask, what is Balance 7? Balance 7 is a clear mineral liquid you take 3 times a day to break down the acid in your body. You feel better, and I personally sleep better. It also reduces acid reflux and heartburn. Often, I'm asked to try products and can be very skeptical of claims. But with Balance 7, it was all 100% true. With Balance 7, I don't feel my energy starting to flag as the day wears on. By allowing me to sleep better at night, I have more mental clarity during the day. Balance 7 is a highly alkalizing concentrate. That means it reduces the acids that have built up in your body over time. All you do is drink a small shot of the liquid 3 times a day, and you will feel the difference. Balance 7 is made of safe, all-natural ingredients. If you suffer from heartburn, acid reflux, or sleep issues, give Balance 7 a try. Balance 7 is made in America and has sold over 6 million units worldwide. Order any of the 1-month supply and put in code word Howie. You'll save $10 and you'll get free shipping. That's Balance 7, the number 7, balance7.com. Code word Howie.